I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Nice talk. Rags $2.
Yes, we coming in hot this morning with Toney Taylor singing Last $2. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, welcome to Community Voices. You are live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise. And live in studio, we do have your co-host, and I'll let him greet you in just a moment. First, I want to make sure that we remind you every single opportunity that we get to know, for you to know how important you are to us, for you to know that we know and we understand, we realize and we recognize that we would not be here if it were not for you. You keep us alive right here on KABF 88.3 FM. And so in the spirit of Sawubona this morning, I greet you in this space. Thank you for showing up. The phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. Call in and lend your voice to the conversation. After all, this is KABF, where we are the voice of the people. So live in studio, your co-host, the Toney Orr, is right here. Toney, greet us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. And you know, you hear something, you hear a song, and it takes you back to a moment in time in your life. And just listening to that song by Toney Taylor just took me back to when I was like 15. I had snuck in the little juke joint around the corner from where I lived at in Chicago, and that was playing on the jukebox. And it just remember and there was some men in there who was like, man, that's all I got is $2. You know? And so it just took me back to that time. It's always good to be reminded of something. And for those of you who may be looking for that Toney Taylor song or any other blues song, we give away, we have free CD giveaways Monday through Saturday from 11 to 2. And if you come by, I'm pretty sure that somewhere in the vast collection of CDs that we have that are available for you, you can find that Toney Taylor song, My Last $2. So thank you for tuning in today, and don't forget about the free CD giveaways.
So again, you are listening to Community Voices live right here at KABF 88.3 FM. On Community Voices, we center Blackness in the context of the human story. And you are invited to call in and talk to us today. The topic for today is beyond racism. That's what we're going to be talking about, beyond racism. And so if you have any thoughts, if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, if you have any pushback, we would love for you to have your voice heard. You can either call in at 501-433-0088, or you can type out your comment right here on Facebook. We are live on Facebook even now. I want to take a moment to ground our conversation about being beyond racism in two things. Number one, the song, and number two, the EJI tidbit for today. Toney Taylor is actually an Arkansan who was born in Crawfordville, Arkansas. That's what, Northeast Arkansas, about 2 hours from here. And Toney Taylor is singing this song about this woman. I love songs where you can tell that this is an actual experience that the person has had. I'm not talking to you about what somebody told me. I'm not talking to you about what I heard somebody say. Like, this is my own lived experience that's coming from my heart, my soul, my mind, my strength, my body. Like, I'm telling you what I know about being at the casino. So Toney Taylor is telling this song about going to the casino and running into, just stumbling upon, just happening to meet this woman who is in need. And this woman has this woman approaches him because she is destitute. She has no more money and she needs some more money. And so she's asking Toney Taylor, she's asking him, will you give me some money because I am all out? And the way I interpret the song, this is my own interpretation of the song, Toney Taylor looks at her and really is empathetic, sympathetic, really is, you know, like, I really feel sorry for you. Like, I'm sorry that you don't have any more money. I really am. But when I think about my own life, I ain't got but $2 myself. And what I need are these $2. I can't afford to give you all that I have, even though you have nothing. And I wish you had something. I wish you had more. And I wish there were a way I could help you. But even though I have $2, I can't give them to you because I need them for my own life. And then Johnny Taylor is very open. He's very honest. He's very transparent. He's very vulnerable. He says, I'm going to tell you what I need my $2 for. I need one of these dollars to get home because I got to need bus fare to get on back to my house. And the other dollar I need to put in the jukebox because I got to hear me some blues. And I can just feel somebody saying, wait a minute, he could have given her at least one of them dollars. You didn't really need the dollar that you had to go for the jukebox. Surely you could have given up that dollar. But clearly for Johnny Taylor, listening to the blues, something that feeds his soul, something that feeds his mind, something that feeds his body and gives him the strength, gives him the encouragement, gives them the whatever to go on, it's more important to his life than to give it up for somebody who lost their money in somewhere that she didn't have no business being in the first place. And I don't mean she didn't have any business being in the casino. I ain't got no problem with you going to the casino if that's what you want to do. My daddy taught me a long time ago that the casino, you don't need to go to the casino. It doesn't make sense because it is designed for you to lose. Like the whole point of the casino being there is to take your money. So I don't have any problem if you want to go, but I don't go because it's clear to me that it's not going to benefit me at all. And so it's not that she doesn't have any business being at the casino. I'm not judging anybody for doing that. I was just at the casino Thursday. I went to eat, y'all. People been talking about Saracen all this time, all the food. The food's so good. The food's so good. So I said, let me go on out here and see about this food. Anyway, I got there too late, so all the stuff was closed. So I couldn't eat. I ate at the post and it wasn't good. I'm just saying. And so I don't have a problem with you going to the casino, but listen to why she says she's at the casino. She says that she's trying to find her man. He's been stepping out on her and she's trying to track him down. She wants to apparently confront him for the fact that he's not where she feels he's supposed to be, which sounds like it's at home with her. And so she's trying to figure out where are you and what are you doing? And just being a woman myself, thinking about my own experiences, I believe that she's expecting to see him with this other woman. So she's gone to this casino because she's about to straight clown up in here. As soon as she finds her man with another woman, she's going to let him know how she feels, and she probably gonna fight the woman. I cannot understand that for the life of me. Two women find themselves in relationship with the same man, and they don't fight the man; they fight each other. I still don't understand that, but yet that's probably what's about to happen. And so I feel Johnny Taylor feeling like I feel. Look, I can't be held responsible for your bad choices. You have made the decision to come to this casino for something you didn't have any business doing. Anybody that's grown knows that you can't babysit grown folks. Grown folks gonna do what they want to do regardless of how you treat them, regardless of how you open yourself up to them, regardless of how you give yourselves over to them. If a grown person want to do something, you can't stop that grown person from doing it. So you ain't got no business coming all the way to this casino trying to find no man. And then you get here where you ain't got no business being in the first place and you get caught up. You didn't even come here to play the slots. You didn't even come here to play poker, whatever games you play at the casino. You didn't even come here for that. You came here for one thing, and the lure of it all, the proximity to it all, the smell of it all, the food in the air, the ringing of the bells, people winning, they pretending that they win because really they piping in the sound. Y'all do know that. They piping in the sound, making you think all them people are with. So all of this is happening, and now you're like, wait a minute. Now that I'm here, let me get in on this. And you find yourself broke because you done got caught up in a system that you didn't have any business participating in the first place because you were there for the wrong reasons, trying to get love in the wrong place. Johnny Taylor says, I'm sorry, ma'am. I hope you find somebody that can help you, but I need my last $2. I got to get home. And I got to hear some blues. And so when I think about that song that Johnny Taylor is singing, I really believe that that's the literal interpretation of it for me. But if I lifted up out of the situation of being in a casino, that we're actually having this conversation in the casino, and I apply the lens of anti-Blackness to it, I apply the lens of white inhumanity to it, if I apply the lens of whiteness to it, I feel like I could be saying the same thing about Black folk. folks. We find ourselves in situations that we don't have any business being in. We participate in systems that are designed not for us. Any system that this world has created, whether you're talking about, even if you're talking about affirmative action, even if you're talking about, what do you call it when your person, you want to get the child support, even if you're talking about welfare, whatever system you think that has been designed, you want to participate in because you think you're going to benefit from it. The truth of the matter is the system was not designed for you. So the benefits you think you're going to get are not going to be made manifest in the way that you are hoping. In fact, you're going to find yourself worse off than you were in the beginning. Let's take childcare, for example. You want to put your man on child support because he ain't helping you with the child. And then what happens? He already can't pay. Didn't he tell you he ain't got but $2? He ain't got but $2. Now you asking him for more. You want the system to come get him because he's not paying you more. He ends up incarcerated. Now, once he's incarcerated, he comes out. He can't do anything to help you because all the systems are set up against him, designed for him to go right on back to where you sent him because you thought this system was going to help you. And so just like this woman, we participate in these systems because we want to get closer to somebody who loves us. We think that if we get closer to whiteness, if we get closer to them in their neighborhoods, if we get closer to them in the schools, if we get closer to them in the country club, if we get closer to them on our jobs, if we get closer to them anywhere we go, in the stores where we shop, in the grocery stores, we want to go all the way out to Chanel to go to Kroger because we want to get closer to them. We find ourselves looking for belonging, looking for acceptance, looking for love in all the wrong places, and we find ourselves lacking that which we need, the last $2. And in this case, I'm positing to you, I'm offering up for your consideration just to think about what the last $2 could possibly be for Black folks. Johnny Taylor said, my last $2 I need for bus fare. I need to get home. And when I think about that as it relates to Blackness, that's what we need to do. We need to do as Black folks, we need to use the last bit of what we have, whatever it is we think we have. If it's $2, if it's $5, whatever we have left, we got to use some of that to get home. And to get home, I'm not talking about going back to Africa. I appreciate all the work that Marcus Garvey did, but I'm not the one who's asking us to go back to Africa. I'm interested in dual citizenship. I'm having conversations about it, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming home to yourself, understanding and recognizing who you are as a Black person, as a member of the diaspora, as a diasporian, as a person whose family, whose ancestry lies in the fact that our people were kidnapped and brought over here on this country and dehumanized so that we can build it for other folks to profit off of our free labor. I'm talking about we got to get home to know that this is not who we are. They call us slaves, and that's how they want you to think of yourself, but that is not who you are. Them white people the colonizers did not go over to Africa to get no slaves. That is not what they did. They went over to Africa to get the most expert people they could possibly find in the areas that they needed to exploit. They went and found the best of the best of the best of the best because everybody in there was already the best. So they're looking for the best of the best so that they can come over and they can exploit our knowledge, exploit our talent, exploit our gifts, exploit our graces, exploit our personalities, exploit our religion, exploit everything that they could get from us. That's what they went over there and did. And now we come over here and they call us slaves. We are not slaves. You got to come home to yourself to know that's not who you are. That's who they call you. That's what they call you. That's how they label you. And you got to know that that's not who you are. So you got to use the last of what you have these days to come home to yourself, to recognize your divinity and know your godness. Hold on just a minute. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Well, good morning. I like what you're saying, you know. You were speaking about racism. You know, it is said that we have 13 families that control basically everything. Now, to come into one's divine self as a people, this is the only thing. See, my neighbor right next to me, he can be present, but he has no way of holding me down. But the top system is designed all the way down to hold me down. I'm not worried about my neighbor keeping me down, you know. So we are talking about a group of people. One person can turn you down for a loan or something, but a group can really control you. So we definitely need to come to the divinity of oneness in ourselves first. And then we can spread out. We can do great things. We gonna, to me, we the only people on the planet qualified to do it.
Say that.
And thank you, and I enjoy the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling. So we have to come home to our divine self, and we have to do it first for our own selves so that we can realize that all of these systems that are created are not for us. But we don't need the systems anyway, because we know how to live outside of them, because part of coming home to ourselves is to remind ourselves that we have not always been accepted into their systems, and the only reason they have accepted us now is because they continue to find ways to exploit us within the system. And so coming home to yourself, using the last of what you have, the last $2 that you have, one of those dollars needs to be used. One of those principles needs to be making sure you come home to yourself, learn who you are, know who you are, get your heritage, get your history, sit at the feet of your elders, go sit with your grandmama, let her braid your hair, go over there and watch the old folks play some cards, go to the dominoes table and listen to the conversation. Show up at the barbershop and just listen to what's going on so you can get a better sense of who you are, because just like Johnny Taylor, you got to get home, and the only way you can get home is to make sure that you don't lose sight of that dollar. Don't give it to anybody else. I know they might need it, but you got to have it. You can't let go of it, because your freedom, your liberation depends on it. The other thing we need to do with the dollar, Johnny Taylor said, I got to get home and I got to listen to me some blues. I got to find some joy in the midst of what I'm going through. It might be my reality that I only have $2. It might be it is my reality that once these $2 are gone, I might not know where my next meal is coming from. I might not know whether or not I'm about to get evicted. I might not know whether or not I'm going to be able to find somewhere for my children to go. I might not know. But in the midst of facing this anti-Blackness, this racist regime, I have to make sure that there's something way down deep inside of me that keeps me going in spite of it, and it's my Black joy. Now, other people can experience joy. I'm not going to take that away from them, but I'm talking about Black joy, because Black joy is particular to the Black experience, because I don't care what anybody says, especially Raven Simone talking about she an American. I'm going to let her have that. But it's a difference between being an American and being Black in America. To be Black in America, to be a member of the African diaspora, is a particular experience that no one else can claim besides us. And so Black joy looks differently, and we got to hold on to it. So we ain't got but $2, Black folks. We got to find our way home to ourselves, and we got to make sure that we express our Black joy. Those are the two things that we got to have if we want to be free, if liberation is our goal. And that's what I'm offering up for you to consider this morning. Now, you can accept it or you can reject it. Either way, I would love to hear you follow the caller's lead and call in at 501-433-0088. And let's talk about being beyond racism, rooted in Johnny Taylor's last $2 and the EJI tidbit. So the EJI tidbit for today that I'm going to use is actually April 2nd. April 2nd. April 2nd in 1802, the state of Georgia cedes land to create Alabama and Mississippi, adding 2 states where slavery is legal in order to ensure that the slave states outnumber free states in the U.S. Senate, in the United States Senate. Because this is 1802, so this is before the Civil War, and they know that there are people that are trying to abolish slavery. They're like, whoa, we need slavery, we got to have it. All of our institutions, the very country that we are in right now depends on this system of chattel enslavement. We cannot allow anything to rid us of this system that allows us to capitalize off of the free labor of Black folks in particular, Black folks especially. especially Black folks by design. And so we got to figure out how to boost our numbers. We got to figure out how to rig the system in our favor. So this is what we're going to do. Georgia says, I'm going to give y'all some land so you all can create. These states don't even exist, but we want you to create some states, Alabama and Mississippi, create them so that we can make sure that when it's time for the Senate to vote, when it's time for us to fight for to keep our slaves, we'll have the numbers in our favor so that the law will continue to work on our side. That's what they do in 1802. And we continue to see that same rigging of the system, that same boosting of the numbers right now today. When we think about voter suppression, when we think about the fact that now when you fill out an application form, it asks you whether you are Hispanic or non-Hispanic. Why? Because they're trying to boost the numbers of white folks, because they want to continue to rig the system in their favor, because now they're not scared of slavery going away. They're scared of their majority going away, which we know is going to happen because the numbers don't lie. And even though they're trying to rig the system, you are not going to be the majority soon. And so they're trying their best to boost their numbers of whiteness. They continue to rig the system in their favor. From 1802 to 2025, we continue to see the same thing. So Johnny Taylor says, in the midst of this reality that these systems are rigged against you, you need $2. If you ain't got but $2, you're going to be good, because one is your ticket back to yourself and one is the ticket to your Black joy. And both of those things combined will get you free if you use them and don't give them away, especially to people who done got caught up in the system because of their own bad decisions. That's what I'm offering up for us to talk about. And I want to hear what y'all got to say. Toney, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, just listening to everything. And like I said at the beginning, listening to the song took me back to a time and a place, to we call them a juke joint on the south side of Chicago. And just listening to the narrative, it made me go back into that moment. And when you talk about the reality, living in the projects, living in Chicago, where racism was prevalent, but in that South Side where Black people ran or owned so much. I mentioned before that there were doctors, there were lawyers, there were schools, and that were all Black. And going back to that moment in that juke joint, it made me realize that the people who came there, they were professional people. They were people off the street. There were mothers. There were fathers. There were blue collar workers. There were accountants. They all came to that place, and you could feel the joy in the place because it was a celebration of Blackness. That's what they talked about. At the time, I couldn't understand it. I was too young to really get a grasp of it. But as you were explaining it this morning, Denise, it made me think. That's what they were doing. That's what they were trying to do. Encourage each other. Let each other know that $1 that they had. We talked about life. That $1 in that sense was them imparting information into each other, so they could understand this is who we are. This is what we're trying to do, and to keep the attitude and to keep the life of Blackness alive. And I think one of the things that has to happen, it has to be a reinvigorating atmosphere of Blackness, that people are willing, that one part, that life part of pouring back into Black people to understand who they are and what they have, and that even though you may live in this country with all these systems, in this world with all these systems, just like being in the casino, you're in that system. But Johnny Taylor, as you said, Denise, he's in that system, but in the midst of that system, he understood, hey, I don't care what's going on in the system. I need these last $2. I need these two things. One for sustainability to get me home, the other for some joy that I need in the midst of this. And I think that's so important, that we have to figure out a way as Black people to come back to that, to understand that in the midst of everything that they're trying to destroy. They're trying to destroy the culture, they're trying to destroy the history, they're trying to exploit everything they can out of Black people. Then you still have to come back to have this realization that, you know, I don't have to. I don't have to be exploited. I don't have to, you know, be used. I don't have to get into the system. I can, you know, once I understand who I am, the whole of who I am, then I can do things differently.
Caller, you're live on the air at KABF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
One good thing I would like to say, you know, my understanding, to get back to the divine in ourselves, we have the solar plex, the heart, the brain. These three work together. Most people don't know that their heart have brain cells in it that communicate. We have to start with our heart connection with one another, what we call love. In ancient times, we see the Valentine's Day heart thing. Ancient times, it was a plow used to represent the heart because it cultivates you and it brings you in. But we don't really listen to the heart. We listen to all the things that we are programming, all the things going on. Sometimes just sit down and listen to what the map is wrote in your heart on what we need to do. The commandments, the law, all of it comes from the heart. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. So let's think about Johnny Taylor in this casino, and this woman approaches him because she is in need. She really needs some money because she is broke, and she too needs to get home. So these two Black folks are in the casino. One of them doesn't have any money at all, and the other one only has $2. And so I started thinking about that again, lifting myself up out of the song, but just using the lyrics and applying them to the world in which I'm living and navigating today. It's really a common thing for Black folks to not have. It is a common thing for us to have to figure out how we can get together and rub two nickels. That's what my daddy used to call it. Rub two nickels together to see if we can't make something happen. It's a common theme for us to be able to have to rely on community to be able to make it. It's a common thing for us to learn how to live with lack. That is a common theme. And so I feel like Johnny Taylor in this really nice, they call him the philosopher of soul. And so in this his philosophizing, giving us these words to think about more deeply and say, why is it that in this casino, these two people end up finding their way to themselves? I'm sure that's because of their Blackness, because that's what I do. I walk into a room, I'm looking for the Black folks. I see somebody Black, I'm gonna walk over to you. I'm gonna smile at you, I'm gonna nod my head, or not nod my head, you know how we do, we're gonna lift it up a little bit. You know how we do. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that you know I see you. I'm gonna make sure that you know you're not alone. I'm gonna make sure that you know I'm also looking to see where the doors are, the exit doors are, so we can be safe and we can get out of here if we need to. So these two people find their way to themselves only to realize that they are in the same predicament, and that is they do not have all that they need. And that is by design. So when I say today we're going to talk about beyond racism, what we are living in is not a racist society. It is a racist society, but that's not the point anymore. The point now is for the world to be anti-Black. That is what we are in right now. And that's what we have to begin to concentrate on, because what the system continues to do is to come up with all these iterations of itself that they use to confuse you and confound you, because once you think you understand the system in this way, oh, lo and behold, it's doing something different. So if we get caught, we don't evolve with the system, then we cannot pay attention to what it's doing to our lives. And so when I say beyond racism, let me just first make sure that I define racism, because there are some of you out there who are listening right now who have been deluded. You are disillusioned when you think that a Black person can be racist. Folks say, well, I know Black people. I know some Black people who don't like white people. They done told me they don't like them. Okay, that's true. I know Black people that don't like white people too. I know that. They're prejudiced. They're not racist. Why can't they be racist? Because in order for you to be racist means that you have to practice racism. Well, what is racism? Racism is a system of power that has created advantages for some and disadvantages for others. And the system defines who receives those advantages and who does not. And the system of racism in America has defined the power to be particularly between white folks who are advantaged and Black folks who are disadvantaged. Now, everybody else falls somewhere in between. You're not excluded in this. You just fall somewhere in between, because the system of racism in America has decided that white people are at the top of the caste system and Black people are at the bottom of the caste system. So all of the disadvantages are designed for Black people to experience, and all of the advantages are designed for white folks to experience. When you have a situation where there are Black folks who have received some advantages, you call them outliers. They are not the norm. They are not. As a matter of fact, the system is mad at them because they have gone beyond what the system expected them to be able to do. And so when you come face to face with the system, many of us, especially Black people, we allow white folks to say, well, what about Oprah? Well, what about Tyler Perry? Well, what about Obama? No, I don't want to talk about them, because you're pulling them out as individuals so that you don't have to deal with the reality that the system attacks the collective of Black folks, of Black members of the African diaspora. It is designed to attack us with all of the disadvantages that it can create in all aspects of our lives. So we as Black folks cannot be racist, because there is no system that is in place that we can fall on, that we can depend on to support our use, our wielding of disadvantages, so that they change the trajectory of a white person's life. There is no power from the system, from the government that Black people have that can change, that can determine where a white person lives or not, that can determine where a white person goes to school or not, that can determine whether a white person gets arrested or not. All of these advantages that white people are experiencing, they are experiencing it because the system is designed to work in their favor, and the system of racism is designed not to work in the favor of Black folks. So there's no such thing as reverse racism. Now, when the day comes and Black people have the power of the government to do whatever they want to do to change the outcome of a white person's life, okay, then we can begin to talk about it. But until then, there is no such thing. So we're talking about that as racism, a system of power that offers advantages to some in this country, it's white folks, and disadvantages others in this country, that would be Black folks. Now, I'm saying we are no longer, I don't even want to talk about racism anymore. I mean, I do want to talk about it right now. I do want to talk about it. That's not, I didn't mean I don't want to talk about it. But I want us to talk about it as a segue into anti-Blackness, because that is what I feel the season is that we are living in right now. And what makes me say that? I'm glad you asked. Do y'all know that they are building a 120-foot cross to look over I-40 right here in North Little Rock? What's it called? Crystal Hill Assembly of God Church is erecting this 120-foot cross that's basically going to kind of like be an overseer. It's going to now. I mean, let's just keep it real. This is not the first time they've had a cross. They had a cross. The cross lasted for 30 years until the tornado came, and the tornado tore it down. And so now all of a sudden they've decided that they want to rebuild it, but they want to go from 50 feet to 120 feet. And it's going to cost, what, north of $100,000? I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost. But it's designed so that, this is what they say, it's designed so that it can be a reminder of the crucifixion. They want to remind you of what Jesus has done for you. And so they consider it to be a worshipful act. They consider it to be part of their mission and purpose to spread the gospel of Jesus. Like, we need people to pay attention to this cross. But if you think about Black liberation theologians, particularly James Cone, he has reminded us and continues to remind us, if y'all would just pick up his book or do some Googling or do some research, when we talk about coming back to yourself, you got to educate yourself on yourself. James Cone reminds us that the cross is a lynching tree. When you think about what happened to Jesus, who was not a white man, who was not a Christian, but who was a brown Jew, when you think about what happened to him, Jesus rose up against the church. The temple. Jesus said, y'all up in here doing all manner of evil. Y'all up in here distorting all of what my God said. Y'all doing stuff that is not right. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to participate in it. When I was trying my best to recall and to look for and to research the number of times that I can remember Jesus going into the temple to worship. And in the New Testament, I couldn't find... So you get confused, right? Because the New Testament is where Jesus is. The Old Testament is where they got Jesus from. So when you think about Jesus going into the temple, that would be the Old Testament. When you think about Jesus going to church, then that would be the New Testament, particularly starting in the book of Acts. But when you think about Jesus in the Old Testament, when you think about this servant in the Old Testament, I don't remember, or even if you think about it in the New Testament, I don't remember Jesus going into the temple to worship. What I remember Jesus going into the temple to do is to check the folks that's in there worshiping. Y'all in here call yourself doing something, but actually y'all are brood of vipers. Actually, y'all have turned this into a house of den. Actually, I need to let y'all know who I really am. I have come to set the captives free. Like, y'all don't know nothing about me. Y'all expecting me to operate in power and dominion and domination, but that's not who I am. That's not why I have come. I have come so that people can be free. And they got mad at him because he was daring to come up against the system. He was daring to say, everybody belongs. I'm going to fight for the woman. I'm going to fight for the trans person. I'm going to fight for the black person. I'm going to fight for everybody because everybody belongs to the kingdom of God. They got mad at him and said, no. This is what we're going to do. The government is going to declare it okay for us to kill you, and we're going to do it on this cross. And anytime you have a government-sanctioned death of a person, then that is what we call lynching. And so the cross is a government-sanctioned death of a man who decided that he was going to raise up and dare to preach liberation, to be a revolutionary, to declare that y'all don't know who God is. I am God. Jesus never said that, but he performed, he demonstrated, he behaved like God would. And so the cross is a lynching tree. So when I think about James Cone, I think about this cross, this 120-foot cross that's made out of steel. They said, we're going to make it out of steel this time because we want it to survive the storms. We want it to be stronger, because what they're really reminding you of is that if you dare to be revolutionary, if you dare to think you're going to be like Jesus, if you dare to really function in what it means to be a follower of Jesus, not a Christian, a follower of Jesus, then you gonna raise up and you gonna speak up and you gonna speak against us. And we want you to know that this tree still exists. We will still lynch you. Look at George Floyd. We will still lynch you. We don't have a problem doing it. Government-sanctioned violence through the hands of law enforcement is still lynching. So this cross is going to remind you, y'all, that they're not through lynching you. Now, who were the people primarily that they lynched? Were there other people besides Black folks that got lynched? Yes, that's part of the history. But primarily, especially when we think about Jim Crow, who was being lynched? That's Black folks. So in essence, I want to put up this cross to remind you, Black folks, that we are beyond racism. I'm no longer talking about disadvantages. I'm talking about I want you to no longer exist. I want to obliterate you. I want you no longer to be a part of this world. I want to get rid of every aspect of who you are. That's why we've gotten rid of, that's why we've gutted the Voting Rights Act. That's why we've gotten rid of DEI. That's why we've gotten rid of affirmative action. That's why we ban in books. That's why we've made woke a bad word. That's why we've come out against critical race theory. That's why we're doing all of these things, because it is we are trying to erase you. We want to go back and remind you that you are only here in this country to serve us so that we can make $1 or $2 off of your back. That's how I know that we are not talking about racism anymore, that we got to move beyond that and talk about anti-Blackness, because that is what we are facing. You know, another way I know that we are dealing with anti-Blackness, when I think about the KKK, one of the criteria for membership is that you had to be a Protestant Christian. Protestant meaning not Catholic. So you had to be a Protestant Christian. You had to have white parents. You had to be over 18 years old. and you had to be born in the USA. This is what I was reading. I'm reading these are the words from the KKK themselves. This is from the number 4 psychops of what they call themselves, the exalted psychops of Monroe in Louisiana, Klan number 4. These are their own words. You got to be born in the United States. You have to have white parents. You have to be over 18, and you have to be a Protestant Christian. You have to claim Protestant Christianity. That means not Catholic, and for your faith. And we are going to use the principles of Christianity and the principles of patriotism as our guiding force to make sure that we operate as an adjunct to the church. We're going to operate not as the church, but a helper of the church. We're going to do everything possible to make sure that we help the elected officials, that we help the government officials do their duty. We're going to help them live out their duty, whatever they need to do to enact law and order. That is what they are about, law and order. We're going to do all that we can to make sure that we are helping them do that, and we're going to do it in the name of the Ku Klux Klan. Does that not sound familiar to you? When we think about born in the USA, y'all remember in 2016 when Trump was on the campaign trail, what was one of the songs that he began to play? Born in the USA. And we're thinking, oh, he loves Bruce Springsteen. Oh, no, that's not what it's about. It's a call to action for those who know what it means to be a member of the Klan, who know what it means to be a member of whiteness, to know what it means to be complicit in the system of white inhumanity. These are all symbols and signs, and that lets us know that they're coming for Black folks. Jim Crow was about Black folks keeping the social order of Blacks and whites, making sure that you understand that there is a difference between me and you, and we have a God-given right to be over you, to be supreme. And that's where we got white supremacy from, or we should not say anymore, because you are not supreme. You are inhumane, and that's why we use the word white inhumanity. All of this ideology around patriotism, around Christianity, around brotherhood, all of that is not about saving the souls of Black folks. It's about eradicating Blackness. This is an anti-Black world. That is what I'm asking you to consider this morning. I'm just bringing up these instances to argue my case, to argue my point. You can call in and say, no, I don't agree with you because of blah, blah, blah. Let me hear your side. I want to hear you argue your case. I have no problem with it. I am here for whatever it is you have to say. And when they ask what KKK stands for, the Ku Klux Klan, it stands for law and order. It stands for freedom of speech. It stands for freedom of the press. It stands for freedom of conscience. It stands for free public school. It stands for separation of church and state. It stands for white supremacy. It stands for Protestant Christianity. All of the things that we see them not trying to, but all of the things that they keep reverting to make sure that they take the country back to where it was when this was normal and everybody accepted it. It's still normal, but we got some people that act like they don't want to accept it. We got some people that are like, oh no, I think that anti-Blackness is wrong. That's what they say. And so, no, I got white friends, they're progressive. Okay, well, if they're progressive, what are they doing to fight anti-Blackness? Because if they're not doing anything to dismantle the system, and yet they continue to benefit from the system, those are not your allies, and they are not progressive. They are complicit in the system of white inhumanity, and you should not call them friends. Let me see what Lo is saying right here. Do not forget, the Romans used the cross to squash rebellion and to send a message to those who go against the government. Do not forget, the Romans used the cross to squash rebellion and to send a message to those who go against the government. I am so glad that you brought up Romans, because the Ku Klux Klan, when they are writing this book, and this is like their Bible, like this is like their guide to their people. This is what you need to know about your membership. This is what we're going to do. They use Romans 12. They root and ground their principles and their purposes in Romans chapter 12. And so they are using Christianity, the same Christianity that Black folks are still practicing to this day, the same Christianity they are using. They said, this is what we're rooting and grounding this in. And we've given you this religion. We've given it to you the way we want you to worship, the way we want you to practice, and you still doing it. Now, I know that there's some Black people, that ain't my God. That ain't the same God that I'm serving. Tell me what's different about it. Just tell me, because when I listen to songs like Kirk Franklin plays, when I go to worship, when I tune in to the YouTube, I can't tell the difference between your God and theirs. And perhaps it's because we have not come home to our religion, to our God, to the way we practice in our bodies, we have been caught up. We done gone to the casino and we done lost all our money in the machine of church. We done gone to the church and lost all our money like the woman did at the casino. Because I got here and got caught up. The Spirit caught me up. Got slain in the Spirit. I started speaking in tongues. I started running across the sanctuary. I started falling out. I started doing all of these things that made me feel like here I am. I finally found the place where I belong. And this is the same place that sanctions your death on the cross. And so the Ku Klux Klan says we are going to root our organization. We're going to root our collective. We're going to root our fraternal order. We're going to root it in Romans chapter 12. So I'm so glad you brought up Romans. And then when the Ku Klux Klan says, well, what are our sworn duties? We got sworn duties. And what we want to do is we want to uphold the law and assist regularly constituted authorities at all times in the discharge of their legal duties. And that is what lynching is. It's a paralegal, it's an extrajudicial. These are people that's operating outside of the courts to make sure that we work on behalf of, we know y'all can't really do this. So we're gonna be your arms, we're gonna be your legs, we're gonna be your brutalizers. We're gonna do all that. It's also designed to protect the home. This is why they fight so hard for the Second Amendment, not because they want a gun, but because they want to make sure that you know that our purposes and principles in this world is to make sure that we hold fast to Ku Klux Klanism, to be Klansmen, and we got to protect our home, which means we got to have these guns. And then they also say it's their sworn duty to protect the chastity of womanhood. And that means you can't be no trans woman. Have y'all really thought about how the conservatives, they really focus on trans women? I mean, every now and then you'll hear them say something about trans men, but they really come out against trans women because we gotta protect the chastity of women. What do you mean chastity? Well, they want to define how you can have sex, when you can have sex, and with whom you can have sex as a woman, which goes back to the laws of miscegenation that says you can't be in no interracial relationship with a black man, not as no white woman, or the other way around. But we're really concerned about the white woman being with a black man. So we got to make sure we define sex for you, because the only way we are going to approve of you having it is if it does not include the sperm, or it does not include a penis of a black man. All of this is what they have written down, and this is the same thing that we are watching today unfold. Trump just signed an order on the 27th of March that said we're going to re-erect all of the statues that got torn down from January 1st in 2020. We're going to re-erect. We coming after the African American Museum. We coming for any parks. We're coming for anybody who dares to falsify the truth about America. Meaning, if you say anything about who America really is, we are coming for you. And so let's think about it. What happened in 2020 on May 27th, 25th, 27th? They lynched George Floyd on TV. And now they're saying, but and as a response to that, the world responded to it with vigor and with force. That's what made these statues start coming down. And now Trump just saying, oh, no. All that's going back up, because we want to remind you of who you are, Black people. You are servants of ours. You will never be equal to us. You will never be enough. You will never be valuable. You will never claim your divinity, because we ain't going to let you, which is why you have to be like Johnny Taylor and say, I don't care what nobody else needs. I'm not letting go of these two things. I'm not letting go of my trip home to myself, and I'm not letting go of my Black joy, because this is my ticket to liberation outside of the system, and I'm claiming it every single day. Here's Deidre says, the missionary baptized you and then branded you. Oh, girl, say that. The missionary, talking about the people that were sent over, that continue to be sent over, but was sent over to Africa to get you to come to know Jesus, to get you to come to know the one who will save your soul, because you are nothing but a wretched sinner. They baptized you in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, and they dunked you in the water. And we sing songs about that now. We talk about how we went down dirty and we came up clean, all kind of stuff we say. And then they turned around and branded you. You belong to us because you are our slave. And then we use that same language at church. We got Black people now talking about I'm a slave of Christ. You got Black people now calling Jesus master. We done got caught up. The woman, Johnny Taylor's looking at her, and he's saying, I can't realize and you're not ready to hear that you got caught up in this all on your own. You came here for the wrong reason. You ain't had no business being in here. Talking about you looking for some love, you looking for somebody to embrace you. There's plenty of people ready and willing to open up their arms for you, but you turn your backs on the ones of us that look like you in favor of those who don't, and then you get mad because you end up broke. Here's the low. How in the hell is Satan going to cast out Satan? Meaning, how is a 34, did this say cunt, or do you mean to say cunt, or do you mean to say count? 34 count convicted felon. How can he be about law and order? Oh, okay. I think you meant count. So how can Satan cast out Satan? So we've got a convicted felon in the office that many of the people, y'all, look, he couldn't get in there by himself. I mean, nobody wants to talk about it being rigged. I haven't heard many conversations about it being rigged. So it feels like the world has just accepted that he was voted in. And so y'all voted him in. And now he's a convicted felon, but he's going to talk about law and order. Yeah, that should say counts. Said, Lo, you said it right. Denise, you have to negotiate 30 more minutes from, you got to negotiate 30 more minutes from Lola. I can't use up Lola's minutes. But here we are. This is what I'm offering up for us to consider. And again, I have no problem ever with the dialogue. If you say, Denise, I disagree with you, you want to call me on the phone, 228-236-7440. You want to hit me up on Messenger, Denise Donnell, the one with the bald head, because I think it's another picture on there, but the one with the bald head, that's me. And if you want to call me and say, hey, meet me at Community Baker, I meet people at Community Baker all the time. Whatever, let's have the conversation, because I need us to realize and recognize that we are living beyond racism. This is anti-Blackness. They are coming for you in every aspect of your life, and you only got two things to hold on to. A trip and journey home to yourself that can be happening all day, every day, and to hold on to your Black joy. And if anybody's interested, there is a book on Black joy. For those of you who can see this on Facebook, there's a book on Black joy. It's written by, it's called Black Joy, Stories of Resistance, Resilience, and Restoration by Tracy Lewis Gidges. And so there is a book that will help you, those of you who want to read it. Tracy has taken experiences of her own life, and she's using them to help us understand the power of Black joy in the face of anti-Blackness and what it means to be resilient in a way that is not the word not being co-opted to say, oh, look at Black people, we can do whatever we want to do to them, and they just bounce back, they forgive us. No, not that kind of resilience, but to let us know that Black joy is a weapon, Black joy is strategy, Black joy is a tool that we can use to continue to live into our divine selves if we just would decide. I keep going back to Roberta Flack. Just decide that's what you're going to do. And then you can do it. I'm sorry, Tom, you got 1 minute if you want to say something.
A lot to think about. The one thing I just want to just interject is that, and the caller said about the heart, you have to decide within yourself, who you are, what you are, and what your perceptions of things are. And I think how to go, release the mind and the rest will follow. And you have to release your mind to understand a lot of the things that were being said today.
So here we are. Again, we are living in a world of anti-Blackness. I want to hear your thoughts about it. I'm going to be talking about it some more. I promise you. But right now, your girl Lola is standing right outside the door, ready to continue the conversation through music. When we talk about Johnny Taylor, he said, listen, I got to play my blues. Well, Lola got to play this jazz for us. And so this will help to foster, to cultivate your Black joy. So don't touch the dial for the next 2 hours. You don't want to miss what's about to happen. And we're going to get your girl Lola started with the women. It's Jazzy Tuesday. She always starts with the women. And so here we have Diane Reeves singing Better Days. We'll catch y'all next time.
Good morning.